The politicians. They've had me to their homes. They've introduced me to their children. I've become their best friends in many instances. They've asked for my endorsement, and they always wanted my money. And even called me really a dear, dear friend. But then, suddenly, decided when I ran for president as a Republican that I've always been a no-good, rotten, disgusting scoundrel. And they totally forgot about me. In my former life, I was an insider. I knew these false attacks would come.
The president's been so unfairly attacked in the media.
I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh,
I knew this day would arrive. It's only a question of when.
And I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord,
Nobody knows the system better than me.
well, if you told me you were drowning, I would not lend a hand.
Now I'm being punished for leaving
I've seen your face before, my friend,
the special club.
but I don't know if you know who I am.
I'm a wartime president. This is a war.
Oh, well, I was there and I saw what you did.
I was a very
I
consequential
saw
president.
it with my own two eyes.
Maybe even more so this time.
You can wipe off that grin. I know where you've been. It's all been a pack of lies.
I am your justice.
I can feel it coming in the air tonight.
I am your voice.
Oh Lord,
I am your retribution.
and I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord, well I remember, don't worry.
My first term, I disrupted all of it. Oh, did I disrupt?
How could I ever forget? It's the first time,
That was called major disruption.
the last time we ever met. But I know the reason why you keep your silence, sir. No, you don't fool me,
I will fight for you.
'cause the hurt doesn't show, but the pain still grows. It's no stranger to you and
And
me.
I will win for you.
I can feel it coming in the air.
Fight.
And I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord, I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, and I've been waiting for this moment for all my life.
We won. The operation's over.
Well, good evening, everyone, and it's Captain Kyle here, and we are in the end game, and we have our wonderful guest, Robert Kraft, and our special lady, Kelly, as always. And we are going to talk a little bit with you guys tonight about some things that are going on in the United States, as well as some things that Robert has been working on, which I believe is a part of the plan. And when you hear it, it has a lot of implications for each and every one of you. And I think it's very important. We talked about how are we going to bring this to your neighborhood. Well, I think this is a part of it. And so this is awesome. And so with that, before we get started, we're going to pray like we always do. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I just ask for your peace and your protection over this call, everyone that is on it. And Father, more than ever, our military, our law enforcement that are out there doing those things in which need to be done right now to rescue the people, to apprehend the criminals, and to expose the corruption that is in place so that your plan can take place. Father, we just ask for peace in these times of turmoil, for people to be able to have discernment to see through the noise and to ground themselves in the reality that you have for them, not the reality that's trying to be painted for them. And that only comes from inside. And Father, I ask that you illuminate that. Illuminate their hearts, Father, and that they choose love and and patience over fear and just everything that the world's trying to throw at them right now. Lord, I thank you for it. I ask for your hedge of protection. And Lord, I ask that you bless each and every one of us, each and every person that's on this call. Father, we thank you for it. We praise you for it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. So, Robert, how you doing there, brother?
I'm good. I'm good. Busy. I got a family chaos right now. I got a really sick dog, so I'm trying to work through that. I don't know what's going to happen. I think we're 50-50 on this one. So
Well, I will pray for your dog, and basically, I will keep your dog because I know how important it is. Like we have our animals. I'd let my cats in here, my dog for my sons, like our grand dog, and so on and so forth. So I understand the importance of pets and animals are to the family. So I'll never, ever, ever belittle those things and how important they are to people.
I definitely
And
like my dogs more than I like most people.
I
So
totally get that. I totally get that so much. And Kelly, and I'm glad that you're here with us this evening. I know you've been busy today as well.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
All right. So, you know, before we get started, I want a little bit for people to understand that everything that's happening right now is happening on purpose. And not only is it happening on purpose, but it's happening in the right time because timing is key. We have to always understand that if something's put out before it's actually ready, then it's not going to work the way it's supposed to. God taught me a long time ago that when He tells me to do something, I used to just choom straight off into doing whatever He told me to do. And He would be like, man, that's my boy. And look at him go. But he's got to learn to wait on me. I haven't opened the door yet. I haven't made the preparations for him to do the things that he's doing. And it's going to be rough on him because he's getting ahead of the plan. And I had to learn. So I have this anchor tattooed on my ankle and my wife's name on it because she's my anchor, and that she keeps me grounded and keeps me to the point where I drag my feet now on purpose so that I never get ahead of God. It's easy for God to move me along, but it's a whole lot harder for me to see God and God's provisions whenever I'm out in front of Him. And we need to remember that. And everything that's happening right now, whether it be good, bad, or indifferent, is happening for a purpose. And God is in complete control. And what Robert is about to talk about right now, and what has come to pass in his process, if it wouldn't have happened months ago, this wouldn't have happened because the timing was wrong. Things weren't prepared the way that they are now. And when they happen, whenever things are prepared, it's like it just comes together and it works out. It's like, oh my God, how easy this was. And how it opens your eyes to the possibility of what is actually there when weeks earlier you didn't even see it was possible, but now you do. And with that, Robert, explain to everyone what you talked about on your video and what is happening right now, because it's important, because this is the process that I believe is bringing it to the layperson into their own communities.
Yeah. So when we started, the plan was we understood that the veterans are the key to get the American people, but we have to build out the mechanisms, and that we're talking about a country within a country within a country, and that really America is a kingdom, and the nation is a territory and a continent, and then we have a state, which is the United States, and that enters our commercial trade and our revenue side of our Article 3, which has general law and equity and admiralty and maritime. So we had the debate where basically that was fully displayed of, no, there are two up here in the beginning of Article 3, there are two down here, and they're separated for a reason. So um and then knowing that coming to understand that we did not have a domestic trust, nor do we have a Western hemispherical trust to function. So that was the early development. Those things were our origination. We knew we had to get this stuff. We had to at least get a footing and get our access points in and get a presence and get our organization affiliated and get some presence behind it. A lot of good things have happened. We have the relationship with our Michilimackinac territory, which is our adjoinder with the Michigan General Assembly. They're handling community organization. We have a relationship. We've been building a relationship over time with a First Nation tribe out of Western Canada. We have an accepted trustee, private air equity, U.S. Supreme Court private air equity court and we have been put under the Marine Corps and Army's protection. We have a living trust that has the U.S. Army Administration attached to it. So all of this stuff that we've been building up to, really in this phase one, is to establish an identity. Okay. Now that we have an identity, we're registered with the U.S. Treasury. We have our accounts are merged into our Stripe, which is merged into our Treasury Direct. So we are operating directly through Stripe with Treasury. So none of this stuff existed back then. We didn't have any of that. This was a blank slate. We have a language that's been designated. So there's been a lot of work done on just the basic infrastructure of the American Republic. Now that we have that identity set up, now we have to move into how do we get it from where it is right down into the local neighborhood? And how does it become a functioning apparatus? Okay. So we've developed, we've been working on these affiliations, these agreements, these associations, trying to get them coordinated into what essentially would be an alliance, because if you read the end of the Declaration of Independence, it says that we have the right to contract alliances. So that's what this is all about. But we have to establish the identities to contract those alliances outside of the federal government in the North American territory and on the North American continent. So that's what we've done. Now with the connection we've made, we are. I know. Stop. Go outside. Sorry. So with the connection, this connection, and this, I didn't know that there was actually a registered American national individual. I did not know that existed. Apparently, I don't want to lead too much because she is kind of private and she's asked that we maintain her privacy, but her familial relationship facilitated her actually getting registered as a American national individual.
And so let
Okay.
me ask you that. This was actually supposed to be the only actual. So you know how they started doing state nationals and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Those were actual where, in the reality of it, that separated you from everything. You weren't even a part of an American system,
Correct.
and
Yes.
it separated you to where now you don't have a country or nothing,
Correct.
and that was the wrong way to go. And I kept telling people, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. You don't need to, because this is going to be built out. The government, not the government, but the White Hats are working from their perspective on the top down. You're not going to have to do anything, because if you do this, you're going to separate yourself from your identity going forward when this gets done. And you're not
I'm
going
going
to
to
want
step
to
away.
turn
I'm
away.
listening. I'm listening. Go ahead.
Okay.
And they're
Yeah.
listening. Go ahead. Sorry.
And so this was important, to be able to actually have patience to wait on this all to take place, because it needed to take place within what's happening from the top down as well as from the bottom up from the people, because the people have to get involved in the formation of the actual republic, and that's what it was supposed to be. And it's funny that how you always talk about the North American kingdom, right? And I'm going to play something in just a second, because it's funny that we're having No King's Day today. And I'm going to talk about that here in a minute, because there's purpose behind it. Okay. And the situation with that is that every place that Trump has visited, even at the UN, he has actually been considered and called His Excellency as the king, and as that representation of the kingdom. Because why? Because it's already established. We're actually just having to bring this to the public space and do the things that have to be done, so that we can bring this into the formalities that need to take place. This is what you're doing. This is what's happening from the community level up. They're doing it from the top down. We're doing it from the entire continent itself, right? And it's funny. I want to play something here just for a second. I think it's going to make some people, just like, not here, but others, cringe, because of exactly what it is. And I love it so much. I put it on X today, and it's like, here we go. All right.
They go on television and say, oh, Trump is a king. He's a king. I don't feel like a king. A king would have it easy, but they say, he's a king. He's a king. No, we're not a king at all. We just know how to get it done. And a lot of people are saying, maybe we're like a king. If that's the case, I'd rather have a king.
So it's
I
freaking
love
awesome.
Jelly
It
Mean
caused
Team.
so many people to melt down today on the internet. I loved it. And it's like, the deal is that he is the king, but not in the sense in which you understand that monarchy, because there is no monarchies anymore. And that the North American kingdom is being put together, and it is being put together as an alliance with Putin and the others. And it's funny how this was actually very important back in the day, even for JFK, and how they were actually operating on bringing together the Russian and American continents together with the Freedom Bridge, right? And today, they're actually going to be building a tunnel from the United States into Russia that has not only the transportation, but also for rail and everything else, going all the way through Asia and everywhere else. And this is all a part of the breaking of the old ways and the old control schemes, and bringing together the new alliances and new partnerships for economic freedom for all people all around the world. And so I just thought that was important for what's happening. But I want to say one thing before we get back into this other part is this is the second No Kings event. The first No Kings event was a complete freaking dud. Nobody showed up. Nobody did anything. Okay. There was a couple little riots, no big deal. But the reason being is because they were terrified of what happened with the military being called out in LA and everything else. And so they know that they weren't playing around. Well, one of the reasons the military has been holding back, and I don't care if people agree with this or not, this is why I'm not on here all the time, is because I have to spend my own spirituality time so that I can get understanding about these things and not through formal channels, because this is not going to be out there in the public space. Sorry, but it's not. But they had to hold back in pushing forward with the military out into these cities. Even though we are already under martial law, they have every right to be able to push this out there. They had to have the states actually, with their leaders, basically pushing for this state sponsored chaos for these rebel alliances that are out there to show themselves and to basically come out of hiding, because they were all in hiding, every one of them. They did not want to come out, and they have to expose themselves. They have to do the crimes so that they can be exposed and do the time. And you can see how emboldened these people have gotten when they feel like that this is state sponsored criminality that's being done, and that they're okay to do it, and that is just giving them the rights to think that they can get away with whatever they want. Well, this is about to change, people, and when it does, it's going to happen really quickly, and they're going to come in full force, and they're going to kick some serious chaotic ass on these crazy people, because they think that they can actually do the things that they're doing, and it ain't gonna happen. I sent Kelly a video yesterday about how these police officers in Illinois actually responded to a gunshot shooting where somebody got shot, and the cops, the firefighters, and everything ended up fighting with the people out there in the public. It was absolutely crazy. I might I
Yeah,
might have
yeah,
Kelly post this video later, huh? It
yeah.
was
Oh yeah. It's here's what I think's happening. Okay, this No Kings rally, all this stuff, they are everything is not as it seems.
nope.
Okay, what it is it's the public saying we don't want a king. Well, that's just fine. Okay, what you're doing is you are dividing the U.S. citizen public from the American people, because what's going to happen is the American people are going to be the ones that are intelligent enough to understand that there are different law jurisdictions. There are still kingdoms on earth, okay? And these kingdoms operate in a certain jurisdiction with a certain capacity, with the way that the law was developed. Everyone wants to cry the Magna Carta, everyone wants to cry common law and all this stuff, but nobody wants to understand how the thing actually works. So what's going to happen is this No Kings is going to be like, okay, well, you're foreign. You are a foreign U.S. citizen to North America. And all the people that are in North America operate within a kingdom nation, a people's kingdom nation. And the United States of America public is under the United States, and you're the public, which makes you foreign to North America. You are the public. You are not part of our nation, because the United States of America is not a nation. It is an infant orphanage that is managed by the United States for the American people, who are called we the people. Okay? So it is a people's kingdom nation.
Yes.
State,
A group of
state,
sovereign individuals.
state part. United States is the domestically, it's the national part. Foreign wise, it's the state part.
Yeah.
Okay? That's where the public is going. So they can scream, you're doing us a favor. You are telling us you're not coming with us.
They're identifying themselves. This is what is actually
Absolutely
happening.
identifying themselves to leave. Good. We don't want to be with you anyways. Y'all crazy. Y'all murdered Jesus. Y'all murdered Socrates. Y'all murder anybody else. The thundering herd of Buffalo Dum Dum is leaving. Goodbye. Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll be happy to send the ones that make it in that with their douchebaggery that they think they're going to infiltrate. They ain't infiltrate nothing because there's going to be nothing but predators in here ready to hunt them down. And we're going to send their asses out with you. Goodbye. You're gone. And the ones that get really bad, you're going to, it's funny because people don't really understand that this thing's like a hierarchy, right? If you think for 1 second that once these law courts are in place, once these equity courts are in place, that it's not a simple trial by jury and you are no longer a U.S. citizen, oh, you can bet your bottom dollar that can happen. If you think that you're going to commit fraud and corruption and everything else, and you're going to steal people's property, and you don't think that you think it's impossible for somebody to go, oh, that's how you want to play? Okay, well, let's go to trial by jury. And oh, by the way, here's a restraining order. We've taken your U.S. citizenship. We've put a restraining order on you. You cannot get insured. You cannot get bonded. You cannot travel state to state without an authorization and a monetary release of funds for you to move state to state. And guess what? You have a 30-mile radius. Hello, colonist. If you think for 1 second that's not going to happen, that is exactly what is going to happen. And if you want to play on the computer and you want to build viruses, you want to do all this stuff, you will never see an electronic device ever again. You will live in a 1700s colony as a woodworker or blacksmith, and we will facilitate that.
So that's it. That people, they have been indoctrinated into this crazy ideology, and because of it, there's consequences for that. And the deal is that not only are there consequences for their crazy ideology, but if they don't actually come around to reality, then there are consequences for that. Period. That's just the way it is. Good, bad, or indifferent. These are all through free will, people. You're able to make your own choices. We're giving people
But your choices have consequences.
They're the options that they have to choose. We're telling people to be safe. We're telling people to use restraint. We're telling people to do all of these things because these are the ways of freedom, true freedom. And this is not by doing the things in which they're trying to do, by not accepting change and not accepting the realities that are in place that go against their ideology that they have been indoctrinated into, because that whole world is crumbling down around them, and they're drowning. They're actually drowning in their ideology, all of it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's the hardest thing for people to realize, because here's the problem with limited capacity of intelligence. Limited capacity of intelligence, most of them find a niche that they can exploit, and they are able to generate a lot of repetition, or it becomes lucrative, right? So they can get paid, like they make a lot of money because they have this niche, right, that they've learned, or they become a part of a group or whatever. And what we don't understand is those people do not have the mechanisms of creativity, number one. So what they do is they do things like they pass laws that are, oh, if you work for my company and you invent something, it's mine.
Yes.
Okay, that's called theft, right? So, but really, the way the system's designed is it's not theft if you are the public, but if you are not the public and you are a private individual, civilly liberated with rights, you have a right to your work. You have a right to your inventions and your patents. And that's why they won't let anyone get civilly liberated. Well, what's coming online now is that system. And that system changes the dynamics for the exploiters, which are these people who find a niche and then exploit everybody with it and call them employees instead of workmen. So that's a lot of what's happening. And that's how this system got this way. And what's happening now is these people have become so like, this is the way it is. This is the way the world is. This is politics. It's all that way until somebody says, we're not playing here anymore. We're going to go build our own thing. And that's when it changes.
Yeah, I'm
because
taking my
people
ball
go,
and I'm going home.
That's right. I'm going home to build my own stadium.
Yeah.
Right?
And
what happens?
Like it or
all
not,
of a sudden,
play by my rules.
That's right. And if you don't like the rules, the real rules, not this circus clown dipshittery that you guys have, then don't come here.
Exactly.
But then what happens is people see it and they're like, well, I don't want to live over here with these clowns. I want to go over there.
Exactly.
Okay, come on over.
It's
right?
that motto.
Right.
So if you build it, they will come.
It's the definite. That's actually what I said. I said that earlier. I said to somebody, I said, listen, this is a whole, if you build it the right way, they'll just come.
That's
because
right.
People are so tired of pounding their head against the wall, right? That it's like, hey, why would you deal with that? Just come over here. You have to deal with any of that crap. And you'll have representation and you'll have this, you'll have that. And you don't even have to talk to them. What? I don't want to talk to them anymore. I'm tired. They don't listen anyways. That's right. They don't listen anyways. So leave them there. Let them talk to themselves. And eventually they're the only ones left in the room, and they're running around in their roundhouse trying to find the corner to pee in. And there is no corner because they built nothing but round. So there's no real truth. There's only conjecture and opinion in a circle. And they're just walking in circles. And that's the game. That's what's happening right now. Their mechanisms, especially our organization, because we are very upfront about it. We are leaving. We are leaving the United States as it is, the federal government. We are leaving the federal administrative state. We are leaving the states. As far as we're concerned, they are foreign. We do not want any part of them. We are going over here. And we are getting our own access to the U.S. Treasury. We are getting our own stuff, our own accounts, our own establishments, our own organizations, our own access points, and they're not allowed in.
Yeah, and I think that this month, highly likely something financial is about to happen. It's going to expose the Federal Reserve, and it's going to bring the Federal Reserve down. I think that it's going to happen this month. I don't know for sure. I'm thinking that it is this month, towards the end of this month. But if it doesn't, it's coming, definitely, because that is a part of how this has to play out. And so, I heard something today, and it really rang a chord with me. How do you really know how intelligent someone is?
You have to give them opportunity to be successful or fail.
Well, yes,
and judge them based on
listen to this theory. Okay, this is really, and it just, when I heard it, I was like, oh my God, that's so true.
I heard it too. Yes.
It has nothing to do with how educated an individual is. Has nothing to do with how many degrees that they have. It has to do with whether or not they have the ability to grow. And what do I mean by grow? I do not see things the exact same way that I saw things 3 years ago, 5 years ago, or 10 years ago. I am always constantly allowing my abilities to see that I don't know everything, and that I want to know as much as possible. And I'm wanting those things to challenge the way that I believe. Someone that is not truly intelligent doesn't mean they're not smart. Intelligent is someone that is always trying to convince you, no matter what, that they are right instead of listening to where they may not know what they're talking about, truly. And that's where it is so important to say, look at where I've come from 5 years ago. Look at where I've come from in 3 years, where I've come from in 2 years. And the expansion of my consciousness, the expansion of my mind, just the thought process has changed evolutionary in the last 5 to 7 years of me. And that would have never happened if I stayed in that. I've got to be convinced that this is the way and there is no other way.
Right. And it's funny you're talking about this, because I was talking to somebody the other day, and I said I think the term that I've labeled it. Now this is my label, right? So this isn't anybody else's, but the term that I've used for that is adaptive dynamic intelligence. It is the ability to be exposed to an experience. It is the ability to stretch or contract your process of discernment, your process of deliberation, and do it applying a level of logic, okay, to grow as a human being, understanding that this is truly an experience, and nobody is born all knowing, and the job is to grow yourself into self-realization and self-actualization. And I think that the term that I gave it was adaptive dynamic intelligence. You are going to be given experiences, good and bad. You are going to have to become dynamic in your arsenal of responses, and you are going to have the ability to review your behavior, the behavior of whatever you came in contact with, and adapt your ways, your road going forward to really start to move up. And the entire scientific sales pitch has operated off of pre-cognitive inception of intelligence, as if someone birthed intelligence into a fetus. But that's not true. Every piece of analysis has proven, right down to the two identical twins that are completely opposite, okay, that experiences and individual experiences modify behavior for each individual. And we have to go back to that. That's why the Bible, especially the
Well, that was
New
the whole
Testament.
idea of the control system that was in place to have kids that basically, when they start as infants, be educated basically as a small child by their parents to the certain degree, coming from the 50s and 60s when they had very limited knowledge of what was going on today. And at that point, take them, put them indoctrinate them through school, which they changed all of the educational fundamentals and basically became an indoctrination program, right? And that who was raising the kids of the adults that are out there today?
Well,
The
that's true,
system
but
was.
it's actually worse than that.
Yeah,
If
but
you
the
look
system
at
was
the
doing it.
product, if you look at the product of the instructors,
Yes.
okay,
Yes. Yeah.
the standard has lowered consistently. So now you have teachers who call themselves teachers, okay, who have the intellectual capacity of a 12-year-old, can't control themselves, okay, that literally would be considered antisocial in 1900 because of the way they act. They are the equivalent of what a educator would have been in 1900, but they do not have the intellectual ascension. They do not have the self-respect. They do not have the cognitive moral infrastructure. They do not have the fundamental intelligence or the development of basic of moderate intelligence. They don't have it. So it's the blind leading the blind, because progressively you've had to step it down because you just don't have the product.
Yeah, but it
And
was
you just
also
don't have the
part
product.
of
And
the
again,
that was
you
a part
don't
of
have the
the
product.
process. I mean, that was a part of the process intentionally to dumb down the people so that they could never challenge where we are today. But
Right.
the
But
deal is that they never considered the fact that through spirituality, you don't need any of that. You don't
go
even need to be
self-educate.
educated of that. You don't need to be that, because education and intelligence comes from within, not from without. And in that process, it's like, oh my God, I've been downloaded information that's way outside of my pay grade. And I have really no real understanding of the process. Now I could learn it, but I have actually been given that information. And I mean, talking instantly of things that I know that there's no way that I didn't ever study it, but I know it, and I know it very, very in depth. And
Right.
that's a
So
part of having that ability to turn inside and not have. So Robert, when I argued with God a long time ago, whenever he said, I don't want you to be trained by man, I don't want you to be in man's ways, you're going back offshore and I'm going to educate you. And this was after a year of him doing that. And I didn't know why he didn't want me to finish, get my degree and all that stuff in theology, is because he wanted to me to follow the Spirit and to be educated of the Spirit, by the Spirit, and become the man I am today, and not the one that would have been led by those teachings of man, all puffed out with ego, that had all of this head smart, book smart crap that didn't mean nothing in the overall scheme of things. That was
right.
intentional. I
And
didn't see
the
it then,
problem
though.
is when you get into common law, and you get into canon law, and you get into this stuff, people are like, oh, well, George Washington self-educated, Thomas Jefferson self-educated, Thomas Paine self-educated, Alexander Hamilton self-educated, right? It wasn't because they were self-educated. It was because to get into that type of law jurisdiction, it requires you to self-educate. You can't get there any other way.
I know it. But I
And
didn't know
that's
this then,
what
and I
people didn't
argued.
know. That's what people didn't know. They
Yeah,
didn't know. They thought that they were going to go to college, like they were going to go to university. They're not going to university, they're going to college, because it's not a university, because there's
yeah,
only 3 degrees in a university, because university was seminary. There was
yeah,
natural medicine, philosophy and theology, and jurisprudence. Those
yeah,
were the only 3 degrees allowed at seminary.
yeah.
Everything else was for labor and workforce. Okay?
And I
So,
was in seminary, which I would have gotten my actual degree. And my
right,
wife is degreed, and she's an ordained minister. And her and I, because of that, this is why God said no, because we don't see eye to eye on so many things,
correct.
because she's still stuck in that box.
Because they didn't teach her discernment, they didn't teach her deliberation, they taught her the doctrine, the dogma
That's correct.
that had been passed down, that somebody came up with, that's all powerful and knows everything. Well, I hate to tell it to you, I don't see many people walking out of churches that are stepping up and stepping out, walking the right way. And I
So that's
think
it.
they call them like the experts. Well, the guidance of the so-called experts have led us to where we are now. So
And what is that?
the fruits of the
They're
labor,
all
none.
still on the stinking milk of the word, and none of
That's
them have
correct.
spiritually grown,
Because
and they
all
are
they
all
care about
stuck
is
in
the
the same place.
numbers of the people that show up. They want their collection of flock, and they don't understand and they don't care that flock is not sheep. That flock wants to fly, and they don't want them to fly, because then they'll leave and they won't
But
be
even
part of
at
their
that,
collection.
Robert, I don't think that they truly know how to set them free to fly.
Oh, I know. That's actually the kicker. That's how the game works. The
But
game
they don't
works
know
because
how, and that's why
they
they're
have no
all in the
idea
same
how.
boat. The
They have
blind
no
keeping the
idea how.
blind, they're still on the freaking milk. And I mean,
Right.
even the dead gum leaders are still on the milk. They could be actually teaching really heavy in passages of the theology within all that, thinking that it's the meat. And the meat is not that, people. Let me tell you what the
No,
meat is.
they can't.
The
They
meat
don't
is
have the
actually what,
capacity.
yeah, meat is actually what Christ spoke and had expectations of you to become and to fulfill those mandates that he actually put upon his disciples, which was to do those things exactly as he did them and to
Right, but
put
what we
no
don't specify is this
restrictions on them at
individual.
all. Period.
We
And
don't specify it's individual. It's an individual responsibility.
people
It
that
is an
can't handle it.
individual relationship. It tells you, go into the closet, develop a relationship with your understanding of your God, develop your friendship, develop a relationship with the preservation and protection of your soul. Make sure that your soul's clean. Make sure that you render just due. You with creation, yours in the closet by yourself. That's the end. And that's the problem.
And it ain't about
Everything is
nobody
about
else.
a group or a club or a bunch of people,
That's
and it's
right.
supposed to be your decision making and what drives it. Are you
Yep.
afraid and you're making decisions? Are you worried? Well, guess what? Those are probably the decisions that are coming to you because they're the ones you're afraid of, and they're the ones you're going to be tested with. And
Yeah.
that's how the game plays.
But I
That's
want
how
to
it works.
encourage people that the expectation is for your spiritual growth. And that is an individual thing. You're not going to get that at your church. You're not going to get that at your pastor. You're not going to get that from your wife or your husband or your kids or no
Nope.
one else. You're going
It's
to
going to
get
be
that
served up every
to
decision that
you.
you make with you and your soul standing there when you make that decision, and the end result will either be death or will be liberation. And that's how the
That's where
game's
you
played.
get freedom. That's where true
That's
freedom
true.
comes from. But
And if
also,
you
I
don't
want you
think
to,
when you go down this road that you're not going to piss people off, you're going to piss everybody off.
oh,
You're
I've
going to
already
piss
pissed
your
off
family,
everybody in the
your
world. But guess
friends.
what? I don't care.
Everybody's leaving except the dog.
Yeah,
Okay?
and I don't care, and I never have. And I told Kelly that
True.
this is how it is. But you have to come to that heart decision, knowing that there's consequences because other people are not where you're at, and you can't force them to make those same heart decisions. Period.
You won't be able
You're
to
not, this
control when
is
they
not
hate
an
your
easy
guts.
walk. Do you think Christ all of a sudden had an easy walk? He never had one, but he went against everything that the church stands for, and the same church is still standing for the same crap. If you don't believe
Right.
that, you need to go back and read it all.
Because they
He came
play on your
against
emotions
every
and they play
single
on your
thing that
passions.
it's still doing.
Right.
He came against it all. Same stuff they're still doing. He came against it all. And that's what I want people to understand. This is an individual journey of spiritual development, spiritual growth. This is the only way that you will begin to know how to become a sovereign citizen of the republic that we are building. You
Right.
can't be just told. You have to experience it. You have to walk in it. You have to own it. This has to be your skin. This is a part of what you're doing. And it doesn't mean what you're doing publicly. It means what you do individually matters. You matter very much so in the collective. And this is
Well, and that's
important.
why the design is moving back to a neighborhood level and a community level,
Yeah.
because that's you. And I've said this a bunch of times. You need to stop looking up and start looking straight ahead. You need to look at your neighborhood. You need to look at, this is for your proximity to where you are. Okay. And it's important because common law requires proximity.
Yes. It's about,
Okay.
if you were going to be held accountable, like in court, it has to be with the people within your community that actually
That's
know you
correct.
specifically, that can bear true witness, good or bad, against you. That's the way it was supposed to be.
And
correct?
that's what common law is. And common law must be proximal. It's I've said this before. If you live in Kansas, okay, there's a law in Florida that says you're not allowed to walk your alligator on a leash. You don't need a law in Kansas that you're not allowed to walk your alligator in town on a leash. You might need one that says you're not allowed to walk your mountain lion on leash. Okay. But there are no mountain lions in Florida. They're called panthers. Okay. Yeah. So that's the point of common law. It is a culturally designed law based on the fundamental moral and ethical community standards for how that community chooses to conduct themselves with each other and with their visitors, which means it needs proximity. Okay?
Yeah. Yes.
And everything that we have right now is designed to put us everywhere except right in our own neighborhood.
Yeah.
And that's so we can't get to common law
until
those mechanisms are actually in place.
So when people say I want a jury of my own peers, peers actually means you're the
observers.
People that are around you locally. And if I live in, say,
it
Houston,
means people that are in the same social class status.
Yeah, but you understand what I'm saying. And this is the way it was supposed to be. If I lived in, say, Houston, and there's 3.5 million people in the Houston area, and 6 in the Houston suburbs and everywhere around. If that's the case, and then I have court, and I'm in court in Houston, and there's a whole bunch of people from the other side of town that basically don't have any kind of relation to my life or anything about my life. Is that actually a real jury of my peers?
Well, I think we're going to find that that's going to be a little more dynamic because we technically
I know, but I'm being
have the mechanisms in place
how
for
it
that
is now versus actually the way it's supposed to be, right?
Right. But we don't even have a jury of our peers. The civil attorneys and the judges orchestrate whatever evidence is presented. The jury does not participate in the examination. Everything's limited and controlled. The so-called, they're not even justices, can override. Like it's an abomination of it's just garbage. It's garbage. Yeah. The system that they have is garbage, and we don't want it anymore. And I mean, take your system and shove it.
I've actually participated in a very high-profile case in Harris County of a doctor that actually sexually assaulted a patient in the hospital multiple times under drug-induced situations. I was the jury foreman. This thing lasted like 3 days, right? 4 days. We were sequestered, and I was the head jury foreman. And in that process, it was really crazy. I mean,
it is really crazy. They're insane.
I would never want to do that again in that circumstance. The amount of pressure that was involved in all that, you don't realize it until you walk that walk and you actually walk that mile. You really don't know what it's like. You may see it on TV and everything else, but until you actually walk that walk, and you have to actually have a room full of people, and it has to be unanimous, okay? And not only does it have to be unanimous, but once we actually had a unanimous verdict, then the actual penalty had to be unanimous, no matter what.
Well, here's the funny part. There was no such thing as a hung jury. They made that crap up. Oh, yeah. It's got to be one way or the other. Well, that gives you 3 options for guilty. Gives you not guilty, guilty, and hung. It's to achieve the threshold.
Yes.
That means crazy. If you don't achieve the threshold, it's not guilty.
Yes.
You know, but here's the sad part. Do you know why? Do you know why was set up that way?
No, I do not.
because the people that were supposed to be prosecuted, they were supposed to be prosecuted far earlier than they had been prosecuted for the major crime that they did, because they're so dumb they can't help themselves. They're just going to go out and do something stupid again. So it doesn't matter if you catch them this time. You're going to nail them on the next one. But because of the garbage system that we have, where the so-called state's attorneys and attorney generals get to decide who gets prosecuted and who doesn't, it's complete waste of garbage. That's why.
Yeah, and I know how difficult it was to have that bar right here. Didn't mean that it was no ifs, ands, or buts, but the bar was like right here, and we had to get everybody over that bar, or it wasn't happening. It was
Right.
just like there was this certain place that we had to all come to an agreement that it was more probable than not that this was actually that it happened in the way that it was presented. And that's you just don't have a clue. It's not like anything you've ever seen on TV. I guarantee you, people.
No,
It just
I've actually
really is.
sat on juries for attempted murder,
Yes,
assault
and
with a
those
deadly
kind
weapon,
of
attempted
cases are
murder,
crazy.
and it was ridiculous. And here's the problem with my experience. My experience was that there was absolutely no evidence. Not one story matched anybody's story, and the audio tape of the 911 call didn't match any witness's story. So there was absolutely no evidence of anything that could have possibly been happened, and even the recording didn't match anything. It was ridiculous. It was like, why is this even here? This is a waste of time.
Yeah, and mine was not that. It was like the evidence was overwhelming, and wife doctor, had kids, and all this stuff. And it was like, when we actually had to do the deliberation, let me break that down just for a second before we close this out. And I know you got to go, Robert, because your dog. Is that
Can you hear him?
Yes, I can, and that's what I was saying. And so when we made this deliberation, being a sex offender, if we just had him go to prison, they would end up killing him. There would be no
Right.
consequence, really. Okay. So we came up with an ingenious way to actually dish out the penalty, which we actually had 20 years that we put him on, where he was on supervised probation for 20 years, had to register as a sex offender, meaning that he could never go to school with his kids, could never go to the park with his kids, could never do these things with his kids ever again.
Right.
And he actually had to go once a month. And this for the entire 20 years he had to do these things, right? No parole, no nothing. It was that he had to do the supervised provision stuff, and that basically he had to do this for 20 years, and he had to go twice a month to go to counseling for that specific thing, and to actually volunteer as a doctor in a crisis center once a month. And he had to do these things so these were his like penances that he had to do.
Right. His restitution.
But he had to do it on the outside in the public space with his wife, with his kids, and that we didn't want to separate him from his kids just to kill him, because the kids didn't have nothing to do with that. The wife didn't have anything to do with that, but they were going to have the consequences along with that as well. But if we just sent him to prison, he would have ended up getting killed, because that's what they do to him there.
Right. That's exactly what they do.
And so we came up with this really ingenious way of punishment for the long haul on something that he could not get out of, and he had to walk that actual out over his entire life, which he would never be able to have his status as he was a surgeon, all this. I mean, he was a big time doctor and stuff here in Houston, and it did not work out for him in the way that he would have liked it to. And, that was one of those ways of being able to come up with a means of being able to come up with a punishment that fit the crime, but that didn't just ignore the problem. And that's what normally it happens, right? They just put people in prison and they go and they get killed and it's over with and blah, blah, nothing happens, right? Um,
Right.
this was one of those that we came up with a solution. And I think this has that creativity that we talked about earlier on being able to come up with a solution that meets the problem that is not normal. And that I think it was a really good solution to the situation. And, you can y'all can look it up. It's in Harris County. The doctor assaulted patient and emergency room area over multiple times. And so, like I said, look it up. It was a couple years back, but it was crazy. And I think everyone should do that for that awareness of the civic duty as well as the responsibility of upholding people accountable, right or wrong, right? And then walking down that path. And it's something I think we should all experience at least once in our life. Robert, it's been awesome. Love you, brother.
Yeah, I sorry, I've gotta take care of him.
I know
sure you guys can hear him.
Yes.
He's not doing well, and I don't know what's going to happen.
Longer, but I understand completely. And you're actually an hour ahead of us. It's already 8 o'clock there. Go take care of your dog. Do what you got to do, and keep doing what you're doing. We know it's for the right reasons, and it's actually doing those things that are facilitating those things in which you guys have asked for. How's this going to get to my actual city, my county, my jurisdiction? This is how we're making it happen.
Yeah. So let me add to that real quick before I go. So
right.
we have found the location. I went out and I wanted to do the video from like the place where it really happened. Okay, where this is where they did it. This is where they deported and sent them out, right? Off the Central Southern Railroad. So tomorrow or Monday, we will be setting up the North American Trust and Holding Company that the assets are going to be put into, because we have to have a holding company to actually move the assets into. You don't just need a vault. You need a company that's going to process and hold those assets. So we have to put a holding company in for the trust in the central North American jurisdiction. We know where that is. We know where that location is. So we will be setting up that company. So when we go to form the alliance that I talked about, when we move the asset will move into that holding company.
So what's awesome is how you made the reference of these bodies of water are going to move. Because why? You have been considered lost at sea and dead.
And we need
to come alive and back on the shore. And these are the bodies of water that are going to carry you in.
Right. So what will happen is we will build what's called a near gulf, which puts us, and if you live up near Maryland, you know what I'm talking about, where it's like the inner harbor versus the outer harbor, right? There's a reason for this stuff. So we have to build a near gulf to bay, and then from a gulf to bay, we can come to the we can come ashore, and then that goes, and that's where we come off the water, off the movement of the great bodies comes to shore, and then those assets can be moved, and we know exactly where all that takes place, and it's all going to be set up come Monday, where that holding company is coming from offshore through the bay, Gulf to Bay, off the Gulf of America. You guys saw the sign that said Gulf of America? Here it is. It's right there. There's the sign. There's a church on that little tip too, because there's a church behind that lighthouse. Okay, so because that's where it is. And then from there, we will put them in the North Central Holding Company as we move it up West Florida and send it back. So we have to have these things where they are for that stuff. So I want to say that.
Yeah, and once you're alive and on shore, meaning you're on land. Now you can move inland. You can move
Correct.
in, and
Correct.
you can move around, and you have to come.
And you can
You have to be
travel.
alive, and you have to come ashore. And this
That's
is what's
correct.
happening right now.
And
You
but
have been dead, lost at sea, and
yes,
this is what we're
and
bringing you
this
home.
and this holding mechanism. So right now, actually, it's funny because a member of the Republican Assembly, Charlotte County, who we first aligned this thing with, they own their house outright. They're like, I'm like, let's get it done. Like I'm ready to move. I'm ready to move my house into in. Like I want to get off the tax rolls. I want to get under a private trust. I don't want to deal with the code enforcement anymore. I don't want to deal with the county anymore. I'm tired of them. Right. So he's chomping at the bit. Right. And
Yes.
then you've got the one who's sponsoring it. It's an American, an actual registered. She was registered in Japan. American national. She's sponsored by a family member who was a flag officer. If that tells you anything.
All important, people.
Yes. So all this is coming in, but this is the opening for phase 2. Now we're gonna have a holding company. Now we're gonna put in the community trusts, and now assets are gonna move into the holding company, and they're gonna get titled by the tribe. Now it's tribal land, completely away from the state.
Woohoo! All right. Love it.
All right.
I'm excited. I am so
All right.
excited.
Let me go take care of
Robert, we saw this coming.
Yes, we did. And we're
we
prepared
from the very beginning. We didn't know how it was going to happen, but we knew it was happening. So
yep. And we knew the direction. Proper preparation prevents piss poor performance.
Yes.
You're prepared.
And patience. Patience.
Timing
people.
is everything.
Yes. I want you to know that. Robert, love you. Kelly, love you. Good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.